your name and who you are?
I'm Philip Rosedale. I'm the founder and chairman of Linden Lab, and we make Second Life.
So we've been seeing some movements of virtual worlds to the browser. How do you see that trend? Are you worried about it?
We're not worried about it. We're trying to push it forward as fast as we can. We open sourced the Second Life client with the hope that it would get generalized by the different companies and types of people that are using it as quickly as possible into as standardized an approach to immersing yourself with a client into 3D worlds as possible. I think that, as a company, we're probably almost still a little bit ahead of that curve because we're anticipating the future and trying to drive the standards process on, say, making avatars, accounts interoperable between virtual worlds, open sourcing the software so people can extend it. If anything, I think the only argument you can make at this point is that maybe we're just early to be doing that. But I think long term, without that kind of an open standard, the internet has already happened. People know how this movie goes, and so if virtual worlds are going to become the 3D version of the internet, they're going to absolutely have to be open and opened up and standardized extremely fast.
But isn't that sort of still a siloed version of these virtual worlds are still apart from the regular internet, right? Why we're seeing sort of very early beginnings of virtual environments, rooms, worlds inside the browser itself, whether it's inside Flash or inside some other sort of proprietary
I don't actually
technology.
think that there's the inside the browser and the client software issue. Virtual worlds, to achieve the immersive properties that are key technologically to the experience they create, require a piece of client software in the same way I think that you had to download Mosaic or Netscape in the early days to experience the internet. But I think that the problem of, say, getting those bundled onto machines or making that download very small or very easy is a very straightforward prospect at this point. I mean, Firefox or IE plugins today make the installation of client software virtually seamless anyhow, and a lot of times you barely even notice it happening. So I think that you do have to have a standalone client to get into the 3D world, but the more material issue, and this is where I agree, is that the standards by which and the protocols and the methods by which you connect to these virtual worlds have got to be standardized and even interoperable with the internet and the web as we know it today.
And how close are we to that time period where you're actually being able to link from a regular web page into Second Life seamlessly, easily?
Oh, I think that's mainly a performance. Well, I think there are two parallel processes. One is computers getting fast enough to support that kind of rapid startup and immersion into a virtual world. That is a technology challenge, graphics card, memory, bandwidth. But I think the parallel process is one of building the standards so that that's done in the most open, correct way relative to how the internet's been built. I think both of those things will happen over the next couple of years. I don't think it'll happen in quarters, but I think it'll happen in short order, in years, as people just continue to want to do more things with virtual worlds.
And what's the equivalent of the hyperlink in virtual worlds, and why doesn't it exist?
Well, it does a little bit. We are working on opening this up, but there is a kind of a URL standard for locations, for example, in Second Life today. And I think whatever the global standard is for moving around within virtual worlds, it'll be something that looks like a hyperlink where you say the name of the place and then maybe the XY coordinates or something where you want to go in the virtual world, and clicking on that link means putting yourself in that location in exactly the same way that clicking on a link means putting yourself on a web page today. It's just that in the virtual world you can bring your body, you're going to bring your identity, your capabilities with you in a way that with the web we really don't have.
Will you ever make a Second Life Lite that's just a browser-based version?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll work on that as much as we can. The challenge today is that the completely browser-based ways of looking into the virtual world do not provide very much in the experientially, and so it's difficult. You kind of have to look at use model to use model. There are people today that have used the Second Life open source code, and they've actually written, for example, chat clients that would allow you to log into Second Life and move around on a moving map and talk to people, and that's been done. I mean,
what can't you do in a browser that you can do in the client?
In a browser, you can't render a 3D environment with sound, lighting, shadows. The actual sort of World of Warcraft-like, or for people, most people have seen that, the real 3D rendered experience.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool.